Good morning. This is Prof. Key Warner from UCCS, and I'm here at the planning office at the city building downtown in Colorado Springs, and I'm meeting today with Jay Anderson, who is a civic engagement specialist here in the Department of Communication and is a graduate of the UCCS School of Public Affairs, and most recently has been elected the president of the advisory board for the School for Public Affairs. And I met Jay earlier this summer and was talking to him about our urban class and some of the projects that we're doing, and asked if he could help us orient ourselves in terms of some of the information that is available from the city and that's incorporated into your assignment about understanding neighborhoods. So he was going to come out to the class and meet with. Got some soccer coaching obligations this afternoon, so we're trying to employ some technology so you get a little feel for what his work is like and what he can offer you in terms of some insights on the city data. So I wanted to just first start by asking Jay to say a little bit about how he got into this work with city government, what his educational background is, because I think sometimes people don't realize the opportunities that exist inside of local government for a variety of different kinds of work that may be of interest, especially to people that have an interest in urban. So, Jay, if you could just give us a little background and tell us how long you've been here, how you got into this situation.
Sure. So, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. So I took a bachelor's degree in biology and never really got into work in biology, but I was working with my family business, and it was a construction company, and we were always interacting with city government, specifically planning and building inspections. And then around 2007, 2008, with the recession, it wasn't much fun to be in construction anymore.
Right.
And so I was always interested in how city government worked. And so I went back to school. I got my master's in public administration from UCCS. And since I didn't have any experience in the public sector, I took an internship here at the city.
Right.
And I worked for the city manager's office and got to see the change in the form of government from a council manager form of government to a strong mayor form of government.
Right.
That was really interesting. And since then, I've worked in the budget office. I've been in an office of innovation and sustainability. I've worked in IT as a project manager. Because of my project management experience building homes. I was able to transition into that. And now I'm with city communications, which is really exciting to kind of be where the rubber hits the road.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, and communication has really changed a lot because of the new technologies that are available, and in local government, and citizen participation or community participation has been valued, but in the past usually just took the form of public meetings and everybody turns out and so forth. Talk a little bit about how that's changing and how some of the new technologies are brought into play and what your role is in that.
Sure. So yeah, absolutely. The way that we expect citizens to interact with government is often a really old model. And the same things we did in the 1700s, where we have public meetings and people come and speak their piece, and then the elected decision makers make their decisions. But with the rapid onset of communications and internet connected technologies, there's a lot of things, a lot of improvements have been made. I mean, if you think about 20 years ago, Amazon wasn't the thing it is today. It was a bookstore, but now it's a whole lifestyle, and you can get anything you want delivered with just a push of a button. Citizens often expect that from their government, or at least they're disappointed when they see that we're not up to that same level of speed. So we've got a number of technologies that I'm responsible for that we're deploying to allow our citizens to have impact and get information from their government. So we have a mobile app where citizens can report issues or request service or ask questions. By far the biggest thing. And that's really exciting. And one of my initiatives is to put in a new app in place, actually another generation of that. because the one we have has been here for at least 10 or 11 years.
Yeah. And what's that app called that people run into a pothole on the way home?
Yeah, if you find a pothole that you don't like, you can put the app on your phone. It's Go Coast Springs. That's the present one. And it's been in place, like I said, for quite a while. And it's due for a refresh. So one of my projects is to put a new, more intuitive, more user-focused app in place.
Right.
And then we also have a survey and discussion board platform that we own. That we can put questions out to the community. We did something about when police put on the body-worn cameras.
Right.
We have to write a policy about that. And so we drafted a policy to do that on our digital tools.
Oh, I see. And yeah, I saw that you were working on some plans for the historic parks. Is it like Acacia Park and some of the other central ones? Is that sort of in a discussion phase now? Or?
Yeah. So they've got there's a survey that's out for those, we call them the AAA. So Acacia, Antlers, and Alamo. And those are the historic parks that are downtown Colorado Springs. Yeah. We've also got a public art master plan, which is about the different sculptures that are out in the community,
right.
And how do we want a dedicated source of funding for that? Or do we just trying to put our finger on the pulse of the community and look for ideas from the community.
Yeah. So, and when you put something out in that electronic form, I'm curious, what is the response and how does that compare with the earlier scenario where you would just have a public meeting? How many people are getting involved?
Well, it depends on the issue.
Right.
For a number of issues, when there's something very controversial,
yes,
then we get a lot of participation, whether it's digital or in person.
Right.
But obviously with digital, we're able to consume a lot more.
Sure.
We're trying to digitize the data collection and the analysis of what's the sentiment of our community. If it's some of these plans and these master plans, it's hard. We have to really drum up a lot of interest.
Yeah, they're not the most exciting topics.
Right.
But although those details are so important.
They really are. Yeah. They really are. And a really successful effort that we did, that we just kind of threw everything at it, was the Plan COS, the Comprehensive Land Use Plan.
Right, and we're looking at that with this assignment a little bit.
Yeah. So we really pulled out all the stops, and when we had a social media plan of trying to get people to participate either in person or using the various tools that we have, and that one was really with the importance of a land use master plan. Or a comprehensive land use plan, it was important to get a lot of feedback. And so we did in-person events, we did lots of online engagement, and we were just really nonstop about that.
Yeah.
Some of the other efforts don't get the same level of interest,
sure.
Partly because of funding and time and resources and that kind of thing. But yeah, the goal is to try to bring more people into the sphere of people who participate with their government.
Right.
And it could start with reporting a pothole, but then once you start taking action in your community, it kind of becomes a self reinforcing pattern where you start engaging with your government, and eventually you may want to serve on a board or run for an office or something. Yeah. But yeah, it all starts with just taking that first step.
I see. Well, and that aspect of technology allows you to gather things in reports of what people are seeing out there. And get them involved. Talk a little bit about how the information has changed in what flows out and what kind of tools might be available to the average citizen that weren't available in the past in terms of the information that government is really obligated to provide to the community, right?
Sure. So one of the initiatives designed sort of designed around transparency, but that has sort of grown into something else, is the open data program.
Okay.
A lot of communities have had open data programs for 10 years or so.
Right.
We got ours in place a couple of years ago. But the point is to provide data that the data that the city generates while conducting city business is itself an asset. I mean, we live in the information age, and so it's kind of a recognized idea that the data itself is useful.
Okay.
So whether that's the shapes of our sidewalks, or the shapes of our parks, or the financial transaction data, or a lot of it does come into GIS shapes, because the city, as as the local government, defines what the shape, how geography works in the city.
Yeah.
What zoning looks like, or economic incentive zones. Those types of
Mhm.
things are all governed by the city,
Mhm.
and so we're the authoritative source on that.
Mhm.
And so, in the past, you've been able to get like a PDF or a plotted map or something that shows the neighborhoods.
Right.
But now with our open data portal, you're
Mhm.
able to actually take that data, write an app against it, or download it and use it for your own resources. And this is all based on the idea that this data is an asset that the citizens have paid for its production.
Yeah.
And so posting that in a way that's machine readable and downloadable and free of license
Mhm.
is very important and becomes an asset that private individuals have actually built businesses based on this kind of data.
Right, and so I can see from the business perspective, somebody's trying to figure out an opportunity that they're exploring. There's things that the city knows about where people are, which areas are being improved, et cetera,
Right.
that could be of interest. And from the residents' point of view, I mean, from a neighborhood perspective, a lot of times neighborhoods feel that, oh, our neighborhood isn't getting enough, or we've been neglected. And does the data that you have at the city actually operate so that just the average person could kind of look at what's going on in their neighborhood over in one part of town and compare it to other areas?
Yeah. So we have one of the maps that we offer is the Public Works Project Viewer.
Uh-huh.
It's a long name. We love our acronyms.
Yeah.
But the Public Works Project Viewer shows how we're investing in infrastructure in these areas. And you could actually take that and do some analysis on, this project was $500,000, this project was 1.2 million. You could see based on the different areas, you could overlay your city council districts or census tracts. Obviously, those are coming. Census tracts would come from the federal government,
right?
But once you start mashing up these different layers of data between federal, state, and local, then you can start exploring and getting some actual whether we're equitably investing in our community, specifically about infrastructure improvements. But there's also with the federal opportunity zones and the local incentive zones, you can see how our government, state government, and the federal government are trying to invest in traditionally underserved communities.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, and I'd like to turn a little bit to this map behind us because it's the one we're using for an assignment, and I think it's interesting for the strategic plan of the latest strategic plan for the city of Colorado Springs to have such an emphasis on vibrant neighborhoods. That wasn't really the approach in planning in Colorado Springs 20 years ago when I got here. So there's a lot. I think the neighborhoods in Colorado Springs are really being considered as a much more important element than perhaps they were in the past. Could you talk about that? I know this is not your specific area, but kind of interacts with what you do, about what that strategic plan is for, and how the neighborhood piece of it is going to be important as it goes from a comprehensive plan to more specific actions.
Yeah. So there's a lot of factors that go into land use planning for Plan COS, and one of them that was recognized in this effort was the character of neighborhoods. And, there's actually, I think this map shows neighborhoods that are maturity-wise versus neighborhoods that have developed, and sort of understanding the character of that.
Yeah, and where the empty land is and where it's all built up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, we recognize the value of neighborhood vibrancy. Vibrant neighborhoods is one chapter of Plan COS. But the neighborhoods are interesting because they're a social construct.
Right.
And I mean, if you get into like a homeowners association or a business or a special district or something, then it becomes formally defined.
Right.
And the city administers that. But those are self-organized.
Right.
And so the city, on our neighborhood map, we have a little caveat that says neighborhoods are fluid and social and subject to change. The borders of neighborhoods, when we defined it, some of the community members came to us and said, you've got that line wrong, or we consider ourselves a separate neighborhood, and you've got us listed as the city.
Yeah.
We say, okay, we hear you. That's not ours to decide. That's yours. Neighborhoods are sort of self-organizing.
Right.
But so we took our best understanding of what how these neighborhoods are located and defined, and then we tried to apply some analysis to it, understanding whether there are younger families in that neighborhood, or more established people, or how. So
or transient people moving in and out, or staying for a long time. Yeah,
and then that of course influences our recommendations for, is this a food desert, or is this place is the balance between commercial and residential a little bit out of whack over here?
Yeah.
What kind of industries could be done here? You don't want to do your heavy construction tire burning facility right next to a preschool,
right?
For example. So it's informed by those sort of not nebulous, but not governed. The city doesn't prescriptively say, if you're here, you're going to have 2.5 kids and a dog.
Right.
We say it looks like most of the people here are single.
Yeah.
Then let's understand how that impacts the incentives that we want to push as a city.
Yeah.
So how do we try to provide resources and connectivity and access to these communities based on how they're self-organized?
Yeah. Yeah. So in the plan COS, the strategic plan, there's these descriptions of neighborhoods and kind of what their overall characteristics are. But that doesn't really establish any laws that govern what happens in those neighborhoods.
Of course. Yeah.
How would that affect public decision-making moving forward for Colorado Springs, having that sort of understanding?
Well, different neighborhoods are going to have different tolerances or appetites for city initiatives.
Okay.
Nob Hill is this emerging arts district.
Okay.
If we said we're going to put resources in there to build a big major east-west corridor, or expand Platte to 6 lanes in each direction,
right,
that would really kill the character of that neighborhood, right? Because now you've got rockets just going east and west across there.
Okay.
Whereas in some of the more suburban areas, you think of like Briargate or something, where you've got large tracts of single-family detached zoning, those people are gonna look for those major connectors because they're traveling to.
They're trying to get somewhere, right?
So that's where the appetites and tolerances of those neighborhoods are going to be important to understand when we look to provide transportation options, or when we zone things differently.
Yeah,
it's all going to be informed by
implemented 6 lanes.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have all of the city's regulation powers, which determine, is this a place where we're gonna allow art galleries with residential on top, or is this an area where we're really going to set it aside for a large scale employee basis?
Yeah.
So that's sort of another step that doesn't happen all at once.
Right.
This is a very high level sort of document.
Yeah, that's where the comprehensive piece comes in. So this is the comprehensive land plan, and then the comprehensive planning division of planning department of the city is actually moving now with the success of Plan COS and all the community engagement and everything around that. We've got this sort of enormous umbrella over the city, and now they're moving into neighborhood planning, where they're going to be engaging specific neighborhoods where it's, if you live in Rockrimmon or you have a stake in Rockrimmon, we want to hear from you in how Rockrimmon is zoned and planned out for the future.
Yeah.
And so it gets more specific with the neighborhood plans.
I see.
And so those kind of roll up. And the idea is that this Plan COS becomes a sort of backbone that everything else just kind of hangs off of or aligns with.
Yeah. Well, and when you say Plan COS was really successful, what is the measure of success? Is it just a lot of positive feedback, or?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of positive feedback. There was, I think it was, what's the word? Unanimously accepted by city council. Participants in the plan came forward on their own to say this was done well. the public participation around this plan, we felt our input was heard. Maybe we didn't get what we wanted, but between the steering committee and the technical committee and the public engagement events that we did and the online surveys and interactive texting tools that we put into place, and they showed up at the What If Festival, and they went to, the engagement around it was really successful to the degree that not everybody got what they wanted in the plan, but those who participated in the plan feel that the process itself was done well. That's what I mean by success.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's exciting. A lot of time government is more the focus of who people get mad at, and it's good to see people getting excited about something that's forward looking in that way.
Yeah, it was a great thing to be involved with.
Yeah. Well, as you know, with the assignment students have in front of them, they've taken a neighborhood that they don't know so well, and they're comparing it with a neighborhood they know a little bit better. They're looking at the census data. They're going to look at a variety of other things, including the Pioneer Museum's got some interesting historical stuff, and then I've also directed them to the city page and some of the databases that you mentioned to me. What do you think are some ideas that you'd want to throw out for the students to keep in mind in trying to get a better sense of neighborhoods that they're not familiar with?
Sure. So what I would explore particularly would be the zoning, of course. That's going to tell you what the city allows to be done in different areas. But I think we talked a little about the construction permits. So we call it cone zones. So it's where's the city doing work to repair our roads? Obviously, with 2C, with our temporary increase in sales tax to fund fixing our roads, where's that money getting spent?
Right.
But then I would also look at we have sidewalks, we have bike infrastructure. I would see how those different modes of transportation are applied in these different locations. I would also look at the district, anything with district in this thing, so a special improvement district, a business district, that type of thing, to see if there's something encouraging commercial activity in that area.
Okay.
From the census, there's obviously a lot of demographic information, so you can see what the characteristics are of the people or aggregate.
Right. The neighborhood as a whole, or
Yeah.
the census tract as a whole, right?
Yeah. So you could look at that and you could say, well, this has this. In general, the people are kind of like this, and the investment from the city looks like that, and the commercial activity. Once you start layering these different data points on there, you start to get more of the character of how that neighborhood is composed. Yeah,
and well, this assignment, I think from my perspective, one, it's to help students see what information is out there and the value of bringing in different types, from census to direct observation to other kind of databases and so forth. But I think also in terms of being involved and engaged, it is the people who have a little bit better information. Sometimes it's a person just with a passion and a strong story and a strong voice.
Yeah.
But there's a lot, you can get a lot of mileage out of having a little bit more information.
Sure.
And whether that's being involved as a resident of the neighborhood or somebody who works on one of the city commissions, works for the city as your internship turned into, or even with some of the private companies that are involved, because a plan like this not only isn't done just by one person. It's not just the city. There's a lot of firms that are out there that go throughout the country doing projects like this, and using, I'm sure, some similar methodologies. We're not starting from square one when we do something here locally, and all of those things are things are opportunities that you might want to consider as you move forward and finish up your undergraduate degree and think about what the next steps are.
Yeah, if I were starting out again, so I graduated almost 10 years ago with my master's, but if I were starting again, I would definitely look into data visualization, data analysis, like get really familiar with crunching raw data and coming up with insights from that.
Sure, and making information that people can digest, whether it's maps or infographics or Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The more comfortable you are with manipulating that and coming up with something that elected officials can make decisions on, the more valuable you are as an employee.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's really an emerging area. Data-driven governance is on everybody's tongue here.
Yeah, great. Great. Well, you're with the communication department here, so that means probably that everybody in the city has the right to an invitation to communicate with you with follow-up questions.
So having community engagement in my title means that I'm often out in the community presenting on this, but it also means that I get thrown anything that if it's citizen facing and we don't know what to do with it, I wind up taking it. So yeah, that's part of my job.
Wow, you must see a lot of parts of the city that everybody just gets one little perspective, and you get a whole array of perspectives.
Yep. Yeah. It helps to be able to comprehend and move through ideas rapidly. So.
Yeah. Well, and so tell us just so we can kind of sum this up and get it put in the box so we can show it in class tonight. Tell us something that's exciting that's coming up in the city of Colorado Springs.
Well, the thing that's taking the most of my time right now is getting our new request app in place. The new app is a lot more nimble. We'll be able to change it a lot quicker. If there's a wind event or something, we can push those types of requests to the top so the citizens can find ways to report those issues. And I'm doing a lot of user testing.
A wind event.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, around Christmas time, there was a big windstorm.
Oh, windstorm! Right. Gotcha. Wind event.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, things like that where we can respond quickly to things that are going on in our community.
Okay.
The bomb cyclone, that type of thing.
Yeah.
The more we can make the interface with citizens intuitive and user friendly, and then we can use the data in the back end to respond better and protect our community. That's really exciting. There's going to be a lot of improvements in specifically that interface with the community.
Okay.
With the new app.
Great. Well, good. Well, good luck with all of it, and we'll hope to check in with you in the future and see how things progress with this planning effort and with the technologies.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and your students can reach out to me. I'm happy to take part and be involved going forward.
Great. Well, thank you so much, and we'll return you to your usual programming and hope that our YouTube works. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We had somebody watching live.
What?